over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Hey, thanks for stopping by Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. I'm TC, and this is TC and Friends Monday Night Musings. You guys are in for a treat. I have Detective Matt Thornton coming on tonight. I know I'm saying his last name wrong. I have a hard enough time with my last name. So, of course, most of the people around here have a hard time with my last name, and it's about as Minnesota and Scandinavian as you can get. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Matt's content, I don't know where you've been, because he is, I don't know how to say this other than to say he's kind of taken the world by storm for being one of those voices in the law enforcement community who's actually doing what so many people have been begging law enforcement to do, and that is to speak out when they see things that aren't right. And praise God, this man has been able to keep his job while speaking out. And it's mind-blowing to me because, I mean, granted, my story is a lot different. And, you know, if you look at people like Steve Friend and Kyle Seraphin, the two FBI whistleblowers that have kind of made their names well known as being kind of the talking heads of the FBI whistleblower insiders. Our stories are a little different because, you know, we ran up against a machine that was working to silence a lot of what people like me were talking about and a lot of what guys like Kyle and Steve were doing. What Matt does is really kind of speak for that sadly silent sector of the law enforcement community that everybody talks about existing, but we don't hear from a lot. And Matt says quite a bit in his videos, whether he's doing a live stream or, you know, if he's doing a short, he wants to hear from other cops. He wants to hear more cops speak out like he does. And that's what he does. He speaks out. And so we're going to be giving Matt an opportunity to tell us about himself. And then I've got a surprise for Matt tonight. He's going to do a fly by the seat of his pants commentary on a law enforcement interaction that I may or may not be deeply and personally familiar with. So Matt doesn't, well, he knows it now. He's looking off, he's off screen right now going, I didn't know we were doing this, but I got him now. But I would suggest to you, if you haven't gone over and followed Matt, you do need to follow him. He is a great follow. He's hilarious. His wife keeps him in line, and she's also about 2 feet taller than he is. And so maybe we can get her to make an appearance, just come pop her head in and say hi when we get them on screen. But if you guys haven't yet, please head over to my subscribe star. TC can use the help when I was stepped out of my career, if you want to say it that way. When I stepped out of my career, I gave up a massive, well, let's just put it this way. I took more than a 75% pay cut. And I had discovered that my time in law enforcement and my time in the military prepared me to do nothing but entry-level warehouse work. So be that as it is, head over to my subscribe star. You can pick a level of support there, kind of help me keep the internet turned on, keep the show going, keep food on the table. As many of you know, I'm in the middle of fighting to get down to my 190 pounds fighting weight. I got real close the other day. I got down to 193.4. And then I got some bad news last week. A former coworker, fellow deputy of mine that I worked with for almost 13 years, passed away off duty on Wednesday. And the news started to come in from contacts within that organization on Thursday and Friday. And I ate a lot more than I should have. Comfort food, if you will. And I went to the visitation last night to pay my respects to Andy and his family and some of my former coworkers. And it was tough. So I kind of gave up my diet over the weekend. I'm back at it right away this morning. Went out and did 5 miles tonight before the show. And if you don't want to help me on Subscribestar, you can order coffee from me. I got coffee. I've got merch. The books aren't for sale. Those are signed copies from the authors. But I do have merch. And I'm very close to 3,000 subscribers. So whoever is my 3,000th subscriber, if you can prove to me that you're my 3,000th subscriber, you and the person that recommended you to my channel will get a gift from me. I don't know if it'll ever be worth anything. Maybe someday in the future. But yeah, if you guys want to send people this way, help me get to that 3,000 mark, send me some support. I'd love it. And while you're watching, if you have questions for Matt, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a funny feeling we're going to get a lot of questions. If you want me to see them, I'm not telling you have to hit that super chat, but if you hit the super chat, it's going to make it a lot easier for me to see them, especially when I'm talking to Matt. And you like the video, comment on the video, and share the video. So, everybody say, smash that thumbs up. And then when you're done, go back after we're done with the live stream, share it again, and comment in the regular comment section, not just in the live chat. Let's get this out in the algorithm because Matt is a stand-up guy. So without any further ado, Matt, brother, thanks for being here tonight.
We're good. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We got you.
I'm about as technologically of a moron as you'll ever meet, brother.
So, no. Trust me, there are worse. So, guys, start sharing this out, especially the people in the auditing community that are here. There are auditors out there that need to see this. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from, and how you ended up. I mean, you've been in law enforcement since like 3 days after Jesus ascended into heaven, I think.
Oh my gosh, I know. I saw the vapor trail that he left behind. Been that long. Yeah, I've been here. This is my 20th year, actually. It's crazy. I look back and it really does. It's playing so many different games with my mind, but I'm here, and I've got a story to tell, and I'm just glad. When you say that stuff about like people listening to what I say, I kind of got to pinch myself sometimes because I don't really consider myself anybody special. I consider myself a lucky dude that was actually God interrupted my life 10 years ago, and then I feel that there's a lot of things that need to be said, and I'm blessed enough to have a voice and to make connections with brothers like you and people that I didn't realize that so many people wanted to hear somebody from the inside talking. I think it breaks my heart when people always tell me, well, we need more to do that. I'm confused. Like, why not? We all have the right to speak up. And I know people feel the same way. So there's got to be some other people that feel the same way. So that's kind of been my mission. And I got kind of a platform, and I enjoy doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it and speaking what I believe is going to bring some awareness and make some change. There's so much wrong that goes unspoken. And I'm watching some of you had an excellent live when you're walking.
I do my best talking while I'm walking because I'm normally oxygen deficient. So my brain, I just ramble. So.
Oh, you had one you were pinpointing so many things that I like, man, I agree so much with. You were going over like national cases, Um, and a little background, if you don't know me, my city that I come from, we have a dynamic of, it's a smaller city. We're right outside Chicago. I've been there. This is my 20th year. I was on patrol for 11 years. I was a detective for 6.5 years after that. Then I was lucky enough to get a position as an SRO. So I'm in the schools now. But I also run a nonprofit organization for the street kids in my city. And my city's a really busy, very violent city that I live in, that I grew up in and that I police in. So that's a little bit of my background
So
for
you're the epitome of community-oriented policing. Like you actually like grew up there, lived there,
yeah,
police there.
I love my city. I cry when my city cries. I rejoice when they rejoice. I'm one of them. It's funny because I get this from the street all the time, and I've never done anything unethical in my career. Like I've never violated anybody's rights. I've never hurt anybody. I've made nothing but righteous decisions. I've never had any really issues at all at work. And when I hear on the streets, when the people on the streets say, "Matt, you're just one of us," and I take that means everything to me. That means that the streets trust me. They don't have any issue with me, and that they will listen to what I say. So I really enjoy that. And there's nothing greater than being able to go on any corner in the city and be accepted, and they know who you are, and they know that they can approach you. I don't understand why I have to be the exception. That should be every cop, in my opinion.
You had this perspective, and I would encourage people, if you want to hear Matt's personal spiritual testimony, I'm not downplaying it and saying it's not important, but because it is a vital part of who Matt is as a person, it's who he is as an officer. But he was this guy prior to his spiritual awakening.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't just his run-in with God that brought this on. This was something that was part of who he was well before that. And I just want people to recognize too that you said with great confidence, and I don't mean this as to put you on the spot, that you did nothing unethical even prior to that awakening, that spiritual awakening all those years ago. And that is, and you don't say it with pride, you say it with confidence, because this is who you are and who you have been from the get-go.
Uh-huh. That's the truth. I remember part of my struggle back then, part of why I'm glad that God interrupted me, because part of my self-destruction back then was I felt trapped. I felt like there's so much stuff that's going on. I didn't know how to deal with the the stresses and the injustices that I seen within who I was, within my job. And back then I used to take it up by drinking. I didn't know how else to address the issue. So part of what came to life inside of me when God saved me, and I realized, you know what, the best medicine for all that pain and all that frustration towards this badge that I will admit I hated it. I hated my badge at the time. God showed me how to use that badge to glorify Him, and that's when I started talking out. And that's when things really took a jump.
That's because I think there's a lot of that silent group of people who you and I both know exist,
Oh my gosh.
that are in the ranks. Well, there's a percentage of them will say, yeah, I honor my oath. I'm ethical. Don't violate my own ethics. I don't violate my principles. I'm a moral cop, that have this exact same struggles that you did and that I started to have pretty much immediately after I even entered into the career field.
Me too.
And it's that cognitive disconnect or cognitive disconnect where you're like, hey, I'm taking an oath, you know, and that oath means something, and now I'm being asked to do things, or I'm seeing things get done that don't align with who I am as a person, or coupled with who I am as a person, don't align with that oath that I took on top of that. And that oath means something to me, and you don't have to be a Christian for that oath to mean something. And that's that people have to understand that cognitive dissonance that is what drives a lot of guys to drink, to abuse prescription drugs, to do risky things when they're off duty, and sometimes even do risky things when they're on duty. And you either internalize that and it eats you alive,
Yep, that's what happened to me.
or you start to lash out, and that's where you start to see domestic abuse cases climb. You see broken marriages, you see infidelity. I mean, everybody, I hate to say it, but it's like it's a joke within law enforcement about how many guys have married the same woman, in an agency. It's and it's not even like
Tell me about it, man.
and it's not even like some chick they all meet at a bar on their night off. It's like they're literally trading wives, and you laugh about it. It's not great, no, but but that's where it comes from. It's that internal. It eats at you. But
you know what really
ahead,
killed me, TC? What really killed me the most from the get-go is that mentality that it's us versus them. Like the public we can do what we want to them as long as you cover your ass, and you do it. You take on this ideology and this religion that the blue can do no wrong, and it's us versus them and the violators. And that drove me crazy from the get-go, because I never considered myself. I always consider myself one of them. Like, these are my people. These are the people that I love. These are the people that protected me growing up. And when I see this, you talked about in your live that I seen it. I just fell in love with what you were saying in there, brother. That was just phenomenal. You talked about major cases and how you saw the beliefs and the cynicism and the belittling of human life coming from behind the badge. And I couldn't agree with you more. And it just made me sick. Like, who am I better than that I can make a joke out of somebody's life? And you named some major cases, which I couldn't. You got emotional with the one that makes me the most emotional. That was the Shaver one.
Daniel Shaver, yeah.
Where this guy literally, they made him play a game of Deadly Simon Says with rifles pointed at him, and this poor kid, that one bothers me so much, man. But to see that and feel that, man, I'm actually seen by the public as a part of this thinking, and I used to call it the blue brainwash. It really ate me alive, and I wanted to quit. I really did want to quit a long time ago. And I was talked to. It's funny because the only reason I stayed being an officer was because an ex-felon who became like my big brother. He just got out of the penitentiary, and he said he knew my heart and my thoughts, and he told me. Name is George Moore. Shout out to George Moore. He's still my big brother. He said, we need you. We need you to speak out. We need a voice for us to talk about some of the things you tell me about. He said, you need to talk about this publicly. And he was part of my big push, just to speak out. I mean, there's so many different topics we can get into when it comes to laws and attitudes and the Constitution that we swore to uphold, and the very definition of what the Constitution is for.
Yeah.
I bet if you quizzed 100 officers right now, it'd be interesting to see who could even answer this question. Who is the Constitution? What was it made? Who was it made to govern over? It was made to check us. It was made to check over the government. It was made to keep officers in check, keep the government in check. Most officers couldn't even tell you that answer. This thing is something you learned in history class. And I take that seriously. I always have. And that's literally what I swore. And I stole this from a guy in a comment, that I swore my oath on a Bible, not on a comic book. And
That's rich. I love that. I mean, it's funny, but it's good. I love it.
So yeah, like I saw that was almost like all of that was pushed. A lot of that was pushed to the side in place of this blue team, and I just couldn't. I wanted to address it from top to bottom. There's still a million different things that I want to address about it, but I want to do it in a way that people are really can't help but feel, like, in a truthful way, and speak truth in love is what my mom taught me, in a way that some people are gonna actually notice this, and you know what, this really goes on, and let's make a shift. Let's make a change. How can we make a change? I mean, I can sit here and rifle off at the mouth and spout off and spew a bunch of banter that people will understand, but won't make any change. I want to come to, I am still an excellent police officer, that I can still speak on this stuff, and let's do something. What can we do to get the attention to do? I mean, we can start, there's so many topics. We can start with training. We can start with how this ideology, or this, I call it, it's almost like a blue religion. How does that start? And why is it so detached from the public? And why are we not actively doing things to tear down that wall? I want to know.
I want to touch on the training aspect with you real quick, because I asked this one. I don't know if you're familiar with who Steve Friend is, or who Kyle Seraphin is, but Steve Friend is a former FBI agent who started out as a street cop and then was kind of drawn into the FBI world. And when I had him on, one of the things we talked about was all the training. And there is a massive amount of training in law enforcement. And, it's easy for me at times, because of what I've been through, to be kind of a smart ass about law enforcement. And I will be upfront and honest and say that I hold law enforcement's feet to the fire in a way that I wouldn't hold anybody else within the public sector's feet to the fire. And part of that's because they have something that nobody else in the public sector has: a badge and a gun, and the ability to haul you in.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm not always fair about it. But how do I want to say this? When you look around and you see what's happening, and you ask these guys, how much training do you have? They, I went to school, and I had a guy come on my channel here a couple of weeks ago, and because I was talking about some of the differences between training, because I was talking to some law enforcement students in the state of Minnesota. And one of the problems that he had was the language I was using. I wasn't referring to it as an academy. And this is how that thin blue line, back to blue all the time, at all costs, people, how they think. He was accusing me of being unethical and lying, because I referred to training in Minnesota as strictly a school and not an academy. Well, Minnesota doesn't have an academy unless it's for the state patrol. And so I'm talking about training, and I'm talking with Steve Friend, and we're talking about all the training that happens, and every single person that you talk to through all of this, what you realize is they're not training these guys and gals on the Constitution at all anymore. This is a very long, roundabout way to get to my point. But it's important, because when you talk to people, they're not training them. They swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States. They swear an oath to the Constitution of their state, but they're not training them on it. They're not getting any training. Yes, use of force is important. You don't want some 450-pound swine, and I don't want to say pig, but but you don't want some 450-pound pig. Sorry, folks. Trying to chase down a serial killer, who's disposing of evidence, knowing he's like, so physical fitness and use of force are really important, but you also need these people to have, if not that, the equal amount of training in physical fitness and use of force. You need them to have an equal amount of training in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And they don't get it. They don't get it at all. And tell people I'm not wrong, because people don't believe me. It doesn't happen.
Do you have YouTube? Do you have Google? Put in First Amendment auditors, and you will see how many times every single day, the most basic of basics, the very first one that we keep seeing every single day, you see thousands of them pop up that they can't even get that right. Like, that's the basic of basics. I'm a public official. You can film me all you want. And there's no saying it. You can't use a law to beat them over the head or find some tricky way to articulate that they shouldn't be like that. No, that's their First Amendment right. How do we keep screwing that up? That's why I'm all for the auditors. I love what they do. I love that they, in front of the world, will undress a cop that is violating, not upholding his oath. That's all you have to. I don't really have to go any further than that to prove that point about the Constitution. It's I honestly, I don't have my curriculum. It was a long time ago that I went to the academy or the school. I have no problem with whatever you want to call it, brother. It was not something that rang true to me. It was not something that sticks out, that I learned a lot about. I assume it was covered. I assume that it was talked about, but I couldn't tell you. I don't remember. But I remember all that marching we had to do. I remember all that worst case scenario training that we did. I remember all the bed making. I remember all the vehicle code stuff. I remember that. But the Constitution training, I couldn't tell you. The cultural training and how to talk to people, how you don't come across as egotistical or you're not better than anybody training. You're just another grown man that has a job, and you're not better than anybody to talk down to them. I don't remember getting any of that training. It's to me that's where a good start would be, from that portion, from the training aspect. I think it's just it just needs to be from the ground up, rethought, relooked at, restructured, whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's changed. I talk to the young rookies that get back in the academy. I think it's the same curriculum. I think that I couldn't tell you. I'd have to have I'd like to actually go to one now just to see. I guess my dream.
I appreciate you saying that, but I don't know that neither you or I really want to go to see what actually happens.
What if they gave us? What if they let us sit in the back of the classroom and heckle and tell them what the truth was, and tell them look, this is nonsense. Let's do it our way. It would be interesting to see. TC, that would be a good start.
I'll tell you that it guys like you and I. You'd probably get more traction just because you're still in the career field and you're a beat cop, or I was just a deputy inside of a detention center. So we're the redheaded stepchildren of the law enforcement community because we don't fit in corrections in the state level and at the federal level, and we don't fit in with the street cops. So everybody likes to look down on us.
Oh my gosh. I got a lot of friends that are correction.
But you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
Like the guys will, someday you'll get on the streets like a real cop, and then they find out they have to do a rotation in their training, inside of the detention center.
Yeah,
and they're like,
I'm gonna try this. I think CEOs have it way harder than us. So my hat's off to you guys, man.
So we both know that Constitution and constitutional law in cases aren't taught They're not done as refreshers. There's no continuing education on it. But there's something else that's really missing. And even though we talk about it a lot, whether you want to couple it with mental health crisis training, CIT. I was, early on in Minnesota in our agency to be one of the first detention deputies in the first several rounds of CIT training in my agency to be CIT certified for my agency. That exists, but the amount of CIT and de-escalation training that takes place is also minimal.
Zero.
Minimal, depending on your agency, because there again, it always goes back to use of force. And I know that you'll note some variation of this. The first level of force for everybody in law enforcement is officer presence.
Mhm.
That's it. That's your very first level of force. And you're taught to be present in your own force in that situation, that
Mhm.
you have to come in and be in charge, which is true. You don't want some milquetoast panty waist, pushover coming in, kind of like what's her name from Police Academy that was always so soft
Oh, what was
spoken.
her
Yeah,
name? Oh my gosh.
you know,
I'm going to Google that one.
you know who I'm talking about
Oh,
though. She was
exactly
very
what you're
soft.
talking about. Oh my gosh.
Okay, okay, guys. You don't want that person, but you also don't want Hightower, right? You don't want Hightower. Unfortunately, we have a lot more Hightowers than we do. What's her name? But um, de-escalation it's taught, but it's not taught hand in hand with use of force, and that's the thing that you see is that officer presence being the first level of force. De-escalation is not taught with that. It's like, okay, first you try de-escalation, and when that fails, it's not de-escalate and continue to de-escalate until you don't have an option. It's when de-escalation fails, now do this.
Mhm.
And I think that's tied in with the warrior mentality that Grossman, warrior cop, um, bringing out of the military mindset of you are a warrior and everybody out there is your enemy.
Yeah. I remember being given his audiobook. And I believe that audiobook may be good for a soldier.
Right.
But I'm not at war with anybody, and I don't have an enemy. So to go in with that mentality and being told by veteran officers, this is the first thing you should read, that's a problem.
And does that not take away or not take away? It actually puts in place a roadblock to any attempt to de-escalate.
Yes, that writing in that book, uh, in our line of work, it automatically makes you assume or tries to tell you to assume that everyone's out to kill you. And that's, if I think that you're going to kill me no matter what, there's no de-escalation that is really very important. We're going to go straight to I'm going to survive, and it just doesn't it doesn't make sense on our job.
Do you you're solo because I'm talking to you and I'm looking something up real quick.
Oh, you're good.
Do you see younger deputies, street cops, whatever, coming in with a different view of de-escalation now, or is it still lacking, do you think, even in the younger generations?
Ooh, I would say I can only speak from my perspective at my PD, but I can't. Oh, actually, I can't speak on what I see on other videos or in news articles and stuff. I really, I can't say it's gotten better. I can say that it would vary from PD to PD, but it needs massive improvements. It needs to, and to me, I hold my philosophy is the PD is only as good as its brass and its veterans, and that's who I put it on. If they're not going to do it in the academy, it's on them. It's on the veterans and the brass to take care of that stuff. I go to every rookie that we have. They walk in the door and I was like, look, this is how we do. We don't do people. We don't treat people. We're not bullies. We're not tough guys. We don't talk down to people. That's my responsibility to make sure they don't do that because they're wearing they're wearing my city that I love on their uniform. So that's where it needs to be pushed from, the de-escalation. and to learn to talk to people. And these youngsters, and let me just tell you something about society today, because the youth and the generations are exposed to so much more, and their consciences are more seared than they've ever been, because technology, obviously, they got anything at the palm of their hands. Do this because I told you so, because I'm wearing this uniform. It doesn't work much anymore. Doesn't work anywhere near it used to, and it's only getting worse. So you have no choice but to go into your de-escalation mode and know how to talk to people and to calm the situation down. You need that more than ever today.
Do you think that no matter what some of these folks might be trained with in school and whatnot, that when they come in for their shift briefing and they're hearing, be safe out there, no matter what, make sure you're the one that's going home at the end of the day, you have to be in charge and all of that. There again, people can say what they want. I don't want any cop needlessly going home and leaving the end of their shift in a body bag. I got a brother that's in. He's been in for over 20 years. So I mean, it's definitely, and literally my blood brother. Nobody wants that. But there is such an emphasis on you and your team. You're going home safe at the end of the day, and that's every shift. And we hear it all the time. For officer safety, for officer safety, for officer safety, for officer safety. Every decision is made for officer safety. It almost has gotten to the point where it's become so repetitive and so rote that it's almost would be a laughing stock or a joke if it wasn't driving so much of the decision making on the part of so many of these veteran and new cops that are on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that impacts how they police?
I think it absolutely does. I've always rejected that notion of what you go home no matter what, finish you go. Like, I accepted this job knowing that I might not make it home on one of these shifts, and I'm not going to harm an innocent, someone that doesn't deserve to be harmed in a panic mode just so I can make it home. My life, to me, a true servant, the public's life is more cherished than my own. I've accepted that. So that mentality will make it home no matter what. Well, some situations it might be hard to, and I don't want to see any cop not go home. But we signed up for this. I signed up knowing that, okay, I might get taken out at work and maybe in some dangerous situations, but I accept that. I don't act out of fear because of that. I think that generates, even that cliche alone, make sure you go home alone. I always saying, or go home safe tonight. Make sure. That sets up a climate of kind of fear. And when you operate out of fear, you make rash decisions. Look at, you talked about the Castile. This guy's terrified just scared to death.
Yeah, Philando up here in Minneapolis. Yeah.
That was all out of fear. That was all because of a climate. He thinks this dude's about to kill him, just reaching for his wallet. That's all. There's so many bad decisions are made out of fear. And if you set up a system where you take a 21-year-old kid who may have not even ever interacted with this culture of people in his life, and you set them up and you tell them that every other person's gonna, if you can't see their hands, they're gonna kill you. You may not, no matter what, you fight to make it home. It's a recipe for disaster. It's not, to me, that climate of fear is dangerous. And how do we change that?
So you have recently had your own experience with auditing.
Uh-huh.
You were recently audited in your own work.
Yes. And I failed miserably.
What's your name and dad's number?
Well, I want to know why you're recording.
I'm in public. I can record when I want. Take rocks. Go take the walk of shame.
Shameful. He even I even asked for IDs. You know what the auditors do, TC? You know what they do? They immediately out egotistical cops. I can tell you within 2 seconds by that cop's reaction whether he needs to even have a badge or not.
I want everybody to know this was not scripted, by the way. I mean, the video you just watched was scripted. He has a whole series with those girls, and they're going to be dynamite and fire. So this wasn't scripted, but since you brought it up, some of you guys have seen this already on my channel, but I don't think that Matt's seen this. So we're going to do a live react, so to speak, of a situation that took place in Rochester, Minnesota back in January. And it was not even an audit. I was actually going as an independent journalist media member to cover a Democrat event. And we had run in with campus security. And then we had this interaction. Some of you are not going to like everything that you hear. And that's fine. But we're going to have a live react from Matt. You ready for this, Matt?
I'm ready.
All right. Just so everybody knows, too, I'm my own showrunner, producer, scheduler. I'm my own craft services, which is why Matt doesn't have any snacks while he's watching. So this took place back in January of this year, and the person that you hear talking off camera will be me, and this will be the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department.
I'm going to go to the meeting now. All right. If you guys want to go to the meeting, you can't have your signs and stuff inside.
Why is that?
Why? Because it's private property.
It is not.
It is private
Show me where it's private property. Show me where it's private property.
This is private property.
According to what? Who funds this?
Public property.
What's your name and badge number?
You know exactly who I am.
What's your name and badge number?
Right here.
Identify. What's your name and badge?
Any thoughts so far?
Oh my gosh, he's batting 1,000. Doesn't know private from public. The whole it's right here thing. Like it's just talk down immediately and be combative immediately. Like oh my gosh.
Okay.
Badge number. What's your name and badge number? Right here is not a name.
Guys, this isn't a battle.
It is a battle. It is a battle. He just told us we can't be here with signs inside.
I said you can go in.
You didn't listen.
Why can't you have signs?
Listen.
Do we have a First Amendment protected freedom?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Public.
First of all,
location.
name and badge number.
This is not public.
Name and badge number. This is, thank you. Name and badge number.
Purcell 2385.
Name and badge number. Okay.
So
Did you catch what happened there, Matt?
It's I'm getting that there was it what are they trying to say is private? I don't understand that.
This is a university. This is a university, a public university, and they're trying to say that this property. They tried the security tried to kick us off first. Campus security, which are law enforcement students, tried to kick us off on the grounds that it's private property, and now they're saying that we can't go inside because it's private property, which it's not. But did you catch what happened with when I asked the second guy for his ID?
I didn't hear that part. I couldn't hear. I was kind of muffled. What did he say?
He gave it up pretty much right away, and it was the fifth time for me asking the first officer before he finally gave it up because the other guy did, and then the third guy came in and immediately gave it up when asked.
That's. I mean, it's obviously it's every PD's policy to identify yourself. You're a public servant. You work for. We work for the people. That is your prototypical egotistical cop that just wants to, in his own mind, win against somebody who he thinks he's better than, and he's stamping all over the First Amendment while doing so.
And keep in mind, this is a town hall meeting put on by elected public servants, Democrats, for the public to come in and watch and ask questions. Which then, of course, opens them up to everybody and all their constituents.
Yeah, I've been to 1 million town hall meetings. Anyone can get in there. It's
so
public.
So now I'll play some more and I'll let you listen.
This is private property.
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay.
This is publicly funded taxpayer property.
Taxpayer property.
Taxpayer. We are taxpayers.
So I'm gonna go have a discussion with. I'm gonna go have a discussion with the chairman here. I'm also gonna have a discussion with security. I'm gonna get paperwork showing you that it's private property.
Paperwork doesn't
And
mean
then we'll go
anything.
from
That's
there,
policy.
okay?
That's policy. That's not law. Law says this is private. This is not private property. This is public property. Oh yeah, you smug punk. Smug.
So the guy that's right here, if you can see where my mouse is, the cursor where my mouse is, unbeknownst to me at the time, this is a university president.
Really?
Yes. He is trying to control this and use these. He's weaponizing these cops, these Rochester street cops. He's weaponizing them and trying to control who comes in and out. And he knows he doesn't personally have the authority or the power to do it. And
he's using, I mean, they're bowing down to him and in lieu of following the Constitution. That's so wrong on every level that they would. I mean, we've had many town halls. I don't care if it's our mayor of our city that came up and said they can't be like, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, it's their right to do this. You have to stand up for what's right. If you don't have the courage to do that, you don't have any courage. And the what elicited the "you smug punk" from me was the fact he goes, "Don't worry." The first cop that we engaged with said, "Don't worry, we'll be back," and that's why I called him out like that. What was his big issue with you being there? What? He had. Well, here I'll let him answer his own question for you. You're gonna listen close to this, folks.
He's being smug. You need to get him out of here. He's the problem. No, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. He said it. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He knows who I am.
You know exactly what you're doing. Exactly. You
Yeah.
want this reaction, so I'm giving it to you.
First Amendment protected activity.
Did you catch that? So he knew you from a prior engagement? I don't know if he knew me from a prior engagement, but I think he finally recognized me from my former career. But then he throws out, "You came here wanting this reaction, so I'm giving it to you." Wow. That's what he said. Wow. How does anybody from?
Because you're.
Sorry about that. How does anybody what?
I'm thinking that rationale makes no sense to me on a philosophical level, on any level, period. How do you say that somebody's going to come here for a reaction and have something so much against them, but you're giving them the reaction? I don't get that. If you have such a problem with and I hear auditors get dogged all the time, and it makes no sense to me. Because if we just followed the Constitution and did the right thing, there'd be no need for them. So if you have this vendetta with auditors, why do we keep giving any material to anybody? Your auditors are there to make sure that we pass. So I took it back just a couple of seconds. I'm gonna let it play through so you can try and hear that again.
Showing you that it's private property.
Paperwork doesn't mean anything. That's policy. That's policy. That's not law. Law says this is private. This is not private property. This is public property. Oh yeah, you smug punk. Smug. He's being smug. You need to get him out of here. He's the problem. No, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. He said it. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He knows who I am.
You know exactly what you're doing. Exactly. You
Yeah.
want this reaction, so I'm giving it to you.
First Amendment protected activity. Because you're a tyrant. Yep, you heard that. Tyrant.
You're not coming in.
Why not?
You're not coming in.
I can't come in here?
No,
Why?
because they said they don't want you in here.
They don't want me in here?
No. they
Why
don't.
me?
Because you're causing a problem.
I was in there perfectly quiet. I came out here
Yep.
because I knew you were going to run people off.
Yep. Because
They're on private property.
This is not private property.
Yes, it is.
This is not private property. Is there other media in here? I'm
Yes.
media.
No, you're not media.
Why am I not media?
Where's your credentials?
I don't need credentials. Show me in the First Amendment where it says I have to have credentials. Show me in the First Amendment. You know,
I heard your sigh there. What was your response to that?
The credentials thing. The First Amendment is your credentials. I mean, that's been ruled on. That's common knowledge. I get so tired of cops saying that. First of all, I've never seen, like, anywhere in public. We're not at the backstage at the Grammys where you need a lanyard with credentials on it. You're in public. It's so preposterous that you would even, that would even come out of your mouth. You need press credentials. I've worked a million murder scenes, TC, and I've seen a million cameras. I mean, they come out. That's what people do. The cameras come out. We don't ask them for credentials to be filmed. You're in public, so you can film.
Which is also kind of a sad commentary on our society today as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, we do have a tendency to see people, instead of intervening in a situation where they could be helpful, they whip out their camera, and decide to film instead because everybody's looking for their 15 minutes of fame.
Oh yeah, it's whether you morally agree with it or think it's morally disgusting, it's still protected. And I guess that's the point of freedom. That's the point of the Constitution and what we're held to. So yeah, man, this guy he touched them all on that one, hit that home run.
Oh, we're not done.
you're not going to win this argument.
No, but you're not going in to cause a problem.
Don't touch me. I'm going in there.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Justified use of force?
No, like you can go on there. It's public property.
Okay.
If he was saying that you were, in my professional opinion, if he was saying that you did something like caused the disorderly conduct, if he had a reason or some moral foot to stand on, he could force you to, or he could do something about it. You're standing there with a camera.
Here we go.
To record the event. What's wrong?
Just throw you out later, then that's fine.
Throw me out later for what?
If they don't want you here, they can.
No, they can't.
Yes, I can.
They can throw me out for what? What law have I broken? What law? What law? What was that? Protect and serve my butt. Tyrant and suppress.
We're hiring if you want to try and make it better.
I'd never work for Back the Blue until it happens to you ever again.
And I will admit, at this point, I'm starting to get a little frustrated.
Oh, I don't blame you. What, like the push was like he didn't go any farther than that because he knew he shouldn't have done that. So he turns on and walks away. He wanted to. His ego took over, and what he should have been done was understand what freedom was and what the Constitution says, and you can film all you want and have a nice day. And then to say, just flat out admit that's just childish to admit that I'm giving you the reaction that you want. That's something my 8-year-old would say. That's wow. And then we wonder why there's such a disconnect. We wonder why people see these all the time, but we wonder when they see us acting foolish like that. And I always agree when they say, well, you guys earn the hate that you get. How can I defend that? How can I rebut that?
I don't mean to be ruining your night, but I thought this would be fun to do live with you.
Hey, can I do a remix on this one?
Oh, I will send it to you. You can remix whatever you make me famous, bro.
I'll do what I can, my brother. But yeah, I mean, these are the types of videos that you keep seeing, and then I get so much hate mail. I get so much people that absolutely detest what I speak out against this.
Hold your thought on that, because I wanted to touch on that separately.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Pay real close attention. This gal over here, screen left, is a security gal that got confronted earlier. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to my spacing and my distancing and everything that's about to take place as it relates to the interaction here with security, campus security, and the law enforcement officers.
That way we can.
You back away right now?
Nope.
Yes, you can.
This is pertaining to
No,
us.
you
No,
just
it's
need
not.
to take a step back.
How not?
Now you're obstructing because I'm
You
telling
need
you.
to take
Obstruction is a
step back.
physical act.
That's
That's
go
fine.
over there.
Take a step back.
Did you catch that?
Yeah. It's oh my gosh. That the jump to the umbrella charge, you know all about that. You're obstructing or you're interfering, like you're holding the camera. If you want privacy, there's private rooms you can go to. They're just trying to find a way to win. When in reality, all they have to do is recognize your right to do so, and like I say, chuck up the deuce. Hey, tag me in this if my face is in the tag.
I will. You got a lot of people in the chat, by the way, saying hi and hello, and you have more fans over here watching than I have on a regular basis. So,
Well, you're my man, so I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Tell everyone I said what's up.
everybody, Matt, you heard him. He said, "What's up?" So I'm going to let this play on a little bit, and then you're going to see what I think is probably this has all been very egregious, but wait till you see how they respond to what's about to happen here. If you thought I'm giving you the reaction you want is bad, if you thought the push was bad, and you thought that now you're obstructing, and you notice how I called him out and told him, no, that's a physical act, and he didn't have a response to that, it gets even more interesting now.
You can observe all you want, sir. But you're not going to get in our face.
I'm not in your face.
And isn't that you're not going to be in our faces? How many times have you heard that on a video? You're not going to be in our faces. It's almost always you're not going to be in our face.
Yeah, and I've never like legitimately seen a camera. I mean, the camera here's in my face right here. That's what I would look like.
Some of us look better at close up.
It's
we look better without the camera on.
It's so subjective. It's so subjective, and you can't just look for a reason to make it an act illegal that's not illegal.
Yeah, well, like I said, if you thought that was bad, just wait till you see this.
In our area.
This isn't your area. This belongs to the people.
I'm just saying if there's a room we can go into.
Once again, this is the female security, campus security, 98% probability she's a law enforcement student. And then the guy in the all black with the black pea coat on and the black pants, this is the university president. And what his response to her just now was, we have no control over this side, but the other side that we do. And that the other side that he's referring to is on the other side of the building where faculty and administration park is considered a private parking lot. So he just admitted that they didn't have any authority to kick us off. He just admitted that.
Should have been the first thing.
Should have been the first thing, right? Now watch.
Why can't they come inside? Sir, respectfully, I don't know your name.
Okay, first of all, I don't want to be on your camera.
You know, that doesn't. This is single party consent state.
All right, that's fine.
This is single party consent state, sir.
I understand that, but I'm still not going to sit on the camera.
Okay, we're going to step into an office and have a conversation.
Got it. Don't get behind me.
You can do your thing, I can't do mine? I mean, come on, man.
No, you're fine.
Yep.
Don't touch. Let go of that. Did you see that? Did you see that? Address that. Address that. Did you see that? I haven't put my hands on anybody.
I didn't touch you either.
You tried to grab my equipment. That's attempted theft.
Fred, do you want to come in here for a sec?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is Rochester's finest.
Who was that guy?
That was the university president. And did you
That-
hear their response? How they laughed when I said what I said?
Yeah. So certain people can just come up and grab people and get in there, literally do what they're saying you were doing, what you weren't doing. That's wow. And that's just that's your textbook audit that shouldn't even be. That's basic Constitution. I don't understand it, never have, and it will continue as long as I keep seeing these. I'm gonna call them out because it makes my job harder. There are good cops that do ride with me, makes their job harder, and it keeps that wall up. And I hate that wall. That wall is almost cost me my life. That wall is evil to me. I hate the line. You know that. That's why I call it line step. I hate
Yeah.
the line, and I want to destroy it.
Well, tell us a little bit about line steppers.
That was an accidental hashtag I made many moons ago with me and my partner. He's a sergeant now. They're both sergeants now. The two, my original buddies that we were detectives together, we started making videos, and I called it Line Stepper Challenge. And by line stepper, the meaning behind it is I hate the blue line crap. I hate any type of line crap. I don't stand with it. I don't agree with it. It creates divide, and it literally represents a line of divide. And I don't know why people have such an issue with me saying that. I want to bring people together in unity. My division is what's making this world the way it is. We need unity and not division, and that's my goal in life. And it's in every fiber of my being. It's how I felt before I met the Lord, and I feel a million times stronger about it since I met the Lord. And our job is to bring people together, is it not? So that's why I have the Line Stepper Challenge. I would love to make more people see that. I love that. I love that it is kind of getting noticed. If you Google it, it's kind of, I just couldn't imagine. I was in an office it was just on a whim that I came up with it. And now it's on millions and millions of different things. So I would like to keep that going. I hate the divide.
When you look around, and as much as you hate that blue line, and we hear it so often, it's on. I mean, it's on so many flags. I think it's a bastardization of the flag of the republic. I cannot stand seeing that flag fly in front of law enforcement agencies. I can't stand seeing it on patrol vehicles. I can't stand seeing it on uniforms. And they call it the thin blue line, and they talk about it as this, this line of protection from, the criminal element to the non-criminal element. But really, it's not a thin blue line. It's a massive wall.
Yeah.
Do you see it that way?
I absolutely see it that way. I know people from the street that, like the people that I consider I'm one of them, they all see it that way. It offends so many people. And not just I hate cops type of way. They see it as, man, they hate us. Look at that wall that they want to keep there. And you can say whatever it was the origination or whatever it was originally made up to be. I don't buy that anymore. I don't care. I see it. We all know what it stands for. We all know that it's in this country, there's such a divide in everything that we do that if it's almost like you're expected to pick a side. And if you disagree with me, I'm on this side, I'm digging my heels in, and I ride with the blue. And I hate that because it's caused so much destruction.
You've had, I think you probably, if I could say it in a way that's accurate, you've had a bit of a accidental rise in popularity because of your willingness to tackle videos that are sent to you and to call out bad actors in the law enforcement career field. And you've also are willing to say, hey, here's a video of a cop who's doing it the right way.
Yep.
But you've had no small amount of pushback from, and I hate to say it, but anonymous trolls that are clearly either directly in the law enforcement career field, in the institution of policing, in the criminal justice system, or closely related to it, to the point where you've actually received threats. Tell us a little bit about how this has impacted your life and your family.
Oh, it gives number one. I don't see myself as a victim. I see it as giving me strength. I see it as reprehensible. You know me and you've been in this field and you know the lingo. You can tell right away when somebody's in law enforcement by the words that they say and the tone of what they even type. I know who's who. And the notion that you would hate me for speaking truth. I don't call for cancellations of people. I don't call for people to be harmed. I don't call for anything other than we need to change this behavior and get it right. And I do it with love in my heart. I'll show grace to anybody that will change and recognize a wrong when they see it. But the notion that you would hate me so much that you would publicly call out and come after my wife and my kids and say and laugh and mock. And I know that you have a badge and you hate me. I cannot imagine how you treat someone from the neighborhood that you're dealing with at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night. If you're willing to publicly do that to me,
or 2 p.m. 2 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, it just like
don't matter. Yeah.
I don't mean to make light of it, but it's true.
It's
And when you
scary.
and I've heard you talk about this several times, when you think about that you've got these anonymous sock puppet accounts or these troll accounts, and I know some of them haven't been all that anonymous.
No, I've gotten DM. Don't worry, I've gotten DM.
But when you think about that, and you think about the line of work that I was in as part of the law enforcement world, and what you do as part of the law enforcement world, that's behavior that you expect from the literal street thugs.
Yeah.
Who are actual convicts. I'm not talking about the guy who got busted with, 2 pounds of marijuana, broke up for sale, who's literally like just was trying to make ends meet, or it got busted for shoplifting and he can't, and he's getting, held because he's a flight risk or whatever. I'm talking about actual criminal-minded people, and folks are criminal-minded people that do get busted and do get locked up, and they deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
You expect them to come up with things like stitches get snitches, or snitches get stitches. Excuse me. You expect that from them. You do not expect that mentality if you're on the outside looking in. You don't expect that mentality from people within the law enforcement world directed at somebody in the law enforcement world. But when you're in the law enforcement world, they think oftentimes and act exactly like the people they are assigned to go out and police. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong?
No, absolutely. That is spot on. And they're proving it. You're proving it right here in public. It's scary. It really is. And that's why it really just motivates me to, I'm gonna keep. Am I rubbing the cat hair the wrong way with you? Because I'm gonna keep doing it, and you keep giving me the strength to do it. Because I know that I'm gaining people, the real people that understand it and can see the beauty in what I'm trying to do. They're just riding with me even harder, and they just give me strength.
Do you, when you look back, when I first interacted with you, and thanks for taking note, but you were doing a live, and we were talking. The whole group was talking about people stepping up and crossing that line, and I know roughly what I said, which is part of the reason why you don't see more people crossing the line is the fact that whether it's calling out a fellow officer on the scene, which I think needs to happen more often. Mm-hmm. It's because what you see a lot of times is the vocal ones, they're not vocal in the moment when they need to be. They go wait until they get back to the end of shift and they're in the, the locker room or the arms room or the armor room or whatever. And they're, changing out and they're like, dude, you were out of line with that tonight. That's fine to some degree, but there are times where it needs to happen on the scene where somebody needs to step in and say, dude, you're losing control, you're out of line, you need to let me take over. And that's not happening. But the other part of it is when somebody says, look, I've watched, Officer Cranky be cranky every day for the last 6 months, and he's escalating, and I think there's a problem and we need to intervene. Very often the officer who goes in gets labeled a rat.
Mm-hmm.
Or when he says, look, you know what, Lieutenant, Captain, Sarge, I'm not taking part in this because you don't have a valid warrant for this. There aren't exigent circumstances in this situation to come in and search this vehicle or to go into this house, and I'm not going to take part in that. That person's the one that ends up getting disciplined. That's the person that ends up getting the crap assignments or gets put on desk duty because they're not playing the game or they're not being helpful to the team, and they end up leaving. Or they get disciplined, or they get drummed out through false accusations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's happened a lot, especially over the last several years with, everything that we saw in 2020 and coming into now, like it looks like some stuff is heating up again here in 2023 and going into 2024. I think a lot of the guys out there who are a lot more like my mindset and your mindset that would have been willing to speak out, I think a lot of them are gone. I think they just said, hey, it's retirement time.
Uh-huh.
I think it's left a gap. And as much as, Matt, as much as I want to say, brother, that you're one of many, I look around and I'm seeing, granted, we're not seeing all the good interactions that auditors or cop watchers have. We're not seeing every single one of the good cops that comes up and goes, hey, thanks for doing what you do. I watch all your stuff. Every once in a while, Jeff Gray gets one of those, or every once in a while, Emma Gadsden Press gets one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, they don't. And Brian from Here's the Deal, High Impact Flicks says, a stream can rise no higher than its source. And he's referring to, law enforcement administration.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think you are far more rare than you recognize, because they get rid of people like me. And you just happen to be fortunate to be in a place where you're backed up, because I look around, I don't see it a lot of others out there like you.
And that breaks my heart. I wish I can't feel hopeless. I can't let it get to me that bad, but I do get inbox from, and it's sad. I do get inbox a lot from officers that are rooting for me and say that they can't speak out. They really don't. A lot of times they won't go into why. And I just think it's one of two things. Number one, that they'll get dealt with right away by their admin, or number two, they just don't have the courage to do it. Either one is wrong. I just wish that what I was even going to ask you, TC, what can we do? How do we bring more hope?
I've been thinking about this ever since I, was forced out. And one of the things that I've been working on, I have a friend, he's running for president in the Libertarian Party. His name is Mike Termott. He's a former law enforcement officer and a former White House economist, by the way. So don't talk about a strange mix of careers. He and I have talked a lot about constitution. I am working on writing legislative proposals that can be used at a city level, county level, or even at the state level, that would tie law enforcement funding to continuing education that would require no less than 20 to 30 hours of constitutional education yearly.
Mm-hmm.
For law enforcement. Oh, you want an increase in your budget for equipment. You want an increase in your budget for hiring. You want an increase in your budget for training, or whatever the case might be. that's going to depend on your ability to function on a constitutional level. Show actual like training where you bring in constitutional speakers, scholars, and not in a dry way. Somebody like the civil rights attorney. I'm going to throw out a name, Chili from Delete Laws.
Mhm.
When you actually watch him when he's one-on-one, he's actually not as fired up. But somebody, just somebody who's able to step into that gap, step into that void, and fill it, and really start to require that not only are they getting the training in their training, but they get that continuing education like they do for use of force, like they do for mental health crisis intervention, like they do for first aid, like they're supposed to be getting for so many other things. And I do think it would make a difference.
Oh my gosh, it's bad. You see them get. I'm tired of seeing them get educated by being a viral video, looking like a moron. We need to be educated in that way. I think that's a beautiful place to start. To know these things. Why does speaking of Chili, who by the way, when he's fired up, some of the greatest footage that I see. That guy is
he can be a little crass.
Oh yeah, but hey, growing up. I love Bobby Heenan and I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that is right up my alley. But he knows his stuff. He when he quotes stuff, he knows what he's talking about. And he shouldn't we should be on that same level of knowing all this stuff and knowing how to spit cases and knowing how to knowing that stuff. I think
Or could you imagine somebody like Brian from Here's the Deal, stepping in his region and teaching those classes, and the impact that would have. Now, granted, to tie it to funding, you're going to have somebody that's obviously, I guess for lack of better terminology, you're going to have somebody that's versed, that has credentials, and it's going to cost. But I mean, I don't, for me, if you're really looking at trying to fix it without completely dismantling it, to me, that's what has to happen.
But you know, one thing that I don't really talk about too much. I don't like to I don't know. I don't really take myself very seriously, but when I've actually been contacted by some people within the higher ups in law enforcement agencies in different states. They've told me that we actually use your videos to train cops now, to train people that want to be in law enforcement. So that makes me feel good that I am being recognized, and what me and you are talking about is being recognized on a level that I never imagined would happen. But I have been. It's been several that reached out to me and they asked me permission. Can we use your video in this training class that I'm teaching in Virginia or wherever it may be? And of course,
I'm gonna show you a conversation I had this same day of the video that we just watched, and this is when I get the opportunity. This is what I try to do, and this was impromptu, so it wasn't. I wasn't prepared, but the opportunity presented itself, and this is what I would hope that we could see a lot of people be willing to do. Oh, whoops. Bear with me. It's not doing what I wanted it to do. There we go.
Right? Yep. So when you take that oath, when you get that first job, you take that oath. Do you know what you're swearing your oath to?
Uphold the Constitution.
Uphold the Constitution. That's right, man. So if you are asked to enforce a law or enforce a policy that violates the Constitution, what's your duty in that respect?
Stop holding the Constitution.
So if you're told to remove somebody from public property who's exercising their First Amendment, would you do it?
They're exercising their First Amendment right.
And they're not hurting anyone or anything like that.
Well, they're exercising their First Amendment, so they can.
So what she said there is, if they're not hurting anyone or anything, that was what she said. Now listen. No, listen to her. She goes on.
Can't really be hurting anyone, right?
But if they were,
Keep that in mind when you go forward, and do yourselves a favor.
Have a good day, sir.
Memorize the Bill of Rights, especially the First and Second Amendment rights, right?
Are they in? That looks like academy uniform. Is that what that was?
That's the they actually go to a college. It's not a full academy. It's not an academy like you would picture it. They don't live there or whatnot, but they do take classes, and they're in their what they call the skills portion. And what she said was, as long as they're not hurting anybody. And I said, but they're just using words. So how are they? And she goes, but what if they were? And here's what I'm going to tell you. That girl, I went out and found out a few weeks later that young lady was awarded for the Minnesota Sheriff's Association by my former boss, the sheriff of Olmsted County, Kevin Torgerson, presented her with a scholarship to pay for her school.
I hope she gets retrained or whatever that was. Like that's
right. And those are conversations that all of us could be having with cops, people that are actually on duty. When you're in public, you could be finding out that somebody is going into law enforcement. Those are conversations that people could be having, but I don't think that most of us think about it, because you see a cop standing in line at the convenience store, Circle K, or the Munch and Go, or whatever it is. You're not thinking about having those conversations. In fact, most of the time you're just like, I hope he doesn't notice me. But the other part of it is too that you also see a lot of fawning. Hey, let me buy you a burger. Let me buy you a pop. Let me buy you a coffee. And I, years ago I would have done the same thing. And now when I can afford it, I try to keep a case of pocket constitutions on me, and instead of handing them a free coffee, I say, hey, here's a constitution, make sure you keep this on you and read it, study it, and know it.
Yeah, I mean, that needs to be those type of conversations, and that's what sets you apart. Obviously, that you people will look at auditors like they're hecklers or they're just troublemen, and that's not true.
And I'm not even an auditor. I do.
Yeah, what you were doing right there was what should be going on all over the place. Like, I get messaged a lot from up and coming people that are going into the field. That's the first thing I tell them. I was like, treat people right, uphold your oath, period. Learn it. That's what should be embedded. That should be the whole first week of any training is Constitution. Like, why do we even do this? Why is the government, what was our government founded off of? Why do we even exist as a nation? And and are we still upholding what our forefathers wrote a long time ago in the Constitution? And if you somehow don't know or have lost sight of that, then it's an issue. It should be harped on.
Yeah.
I also think, and when you brought up a topic earlier about mental health too, I think that should be at the top of the list of every applicant as well. The mental health aspect of it. I shouldn't have had to wait 12 years.
With their public and for themselves and their team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But I don't know. I was an FTO for over half of my career, and it didn't take me very long to, even before I started FTOing, new guys would come in and I'd look at them, but especially my trainees. And I would say, I'm not going to tell you to forget everything you learned during training. Now, for us, we actually had an academy that was a regional academy, and our county happened to be kind of at the top of the list for conducting that academy. But it's there again, not an academy like you would, it's not a military style.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell these new hires when they would come in, I said, okay, everything you've learned over the last month and a half or whatever it was, I said, I'm not telling you to forget it, but what I am going to tell you is we're going to apply it different. Because what you have to realize is that the people that you're dealing with, and this goes for the people inside of a detention center or the guys out on the street, and it doesn't take you long if you have any kind of empathy or a heart to say, the person you're dealing with, when they see you, when you're in that uniform, they're either about to have or are having the worst day and moment of their life. And if your response to that is to exercise your power over them and not exercise empathy and understanding for them, you are on the wrong line of work. And it would be better for you to recognize that and get out now while you can still go find a different career. Because someday it's going to be you that's having the worst day of your life. And you're going to wish that someone gave a damn enough to come into you in that moment and understand and actually be a help, even if it means you end up in cuffs. And that's not how we treat. That's not what we see happening. That's not how we see people getting treated. We don't see them as human. We just don't humanize. We other them. We see cops do this all the time. Not just as an enemy, but especially someone who is actually in the midst of maybe committing a crime. You're not a human being. You are now a suspect, or you're guilty. You're a criminal.
Yep.
And
I mean, every PD has their name for somebody like that. Whether they call him this guy, you know how that goes. In Illinois or where I was from, they say shithead. In other places, they get this guy's a jagoff. Like they're just saying this guy's less than us. He's not human. He's the other side, and we can treat him however we want. That's the mentality. I feel like that's what you're talking about. If you have that and you think you're better than somebody, no matter what their state is, and then turn that in and go find somewhere else.
Well, we're coming up on an hour and a half, and I know you're not as old as me, but
I bet we're close, bro. How old are you?
I'm going to be 53 at the end of the month, so
I'll be 48 next week. So I'm getting there.
I told you weren't there yet. So Tennille's probably ready for you to like make dinner or something. I don't know.
Jamie, my 15-year-old right there, the superstar. You want to come say hi? She's so shy. That's my.
That's the director and scriptwriter, isn't it?
She doesn't hasn't gotten involved in any of the audits quite yet.
Oh well, yeah.
She's always at volleyball practice. She's a superstar volleyball player. She's awesome.
Okay,
but the other four little ones are the little auditors around here. There's a lot more of that coming out.
So give us your must-watch channels on YouTube of people who handle the cop watching or auditing, who handle it well.
Who handle it well? Well, my number one is a personal friend of mine, is Long Island Audit. Sean Paul is he's just a good dude. I've had many conversations with him on the air and off the air, and he gets it. He's a smart guy, and he's one I'd recommend. I love Phil from High Desert Community Watch. He's the one who actually first one I've ever seen. I never knew that even existed, and I loved it the second I saw it. Because of the impact that it had. I knew this was going to gain steam. Let me see. I enjoy Chili. Like I said earlier, I enjoy watching some of his stuff. You can learn.
You will get an earful in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah. San Joaquin. I've been watching a lot of them. Tapatios. I watch him I think he's in Arizona. Let me see. There's one other one. There's a couple other ones that I watch. There's a lady in Chicago. It's escaping me the name right now. We need to get that. We need to get people watching you, brother. Like we need to get that 3,000 to 30,000.
Hey, I'll take 3,000 right now. So, but if you want to drive me up to 30,000,
let's shoot for the sky, man.
You give me to 30,000, I will give you a bag of coffee.
But watch that live that you did, where you're walking and you bring up those national cases. That was the way that you worded that and how you used to think and your story behind that is brilliance. And I could not agree with your words in that video anymore. Like your walk.
You'll have to find it and send it or share it. Or,
yeah, I'll
chop it up and tell people how to find me.
I would be glad. I could use that. I could chop that up a bunch of ways because your story of how you used to think one way, and the shift, and it wasn't an immediate shift. It was a shift in the things that you saw and everything that you said. You articulated perfectly well, and it wasn't it was stuff you saw with your own eyes. And you're not one sided because your brother, you love your brother, and you're very open about. Yeah, he's. I've been in this line of work, and I know there's good ones out there. So it's not a prejudicial statement. That is a perfect live video. I really enjoyed that, man.
I appreciate that. You have my permission to chop it up. and
I got you,
link
my
it
brother.
and link it when you chop it.
Hey, you can
Do we
stick your head
do
in
we
here.
get it to do we get it to Neil?
Mama's in a nightgown right now.
No, Tennille, you could just come over here and put your head around the corner.
Yeah, put your head right here, babe. Here, come on. Your hand at least? Here. Let me kiss my wife's hand on tape. See, you're a superstar. There she goes.
Newlyweds. Tennille, we know who's the brain in that operation.
Oh yeah.
Don't get her going.
He's the beauty. I'm the brain.
We also know who has the height.
Oh, see?
Oh.
Hey, go to bed. Get to bed now.
Woo, that was a burn.
So how about you ever watch Soliaker, the armed fisherman?
No, send me that.
Yeah, I'll try and remember to send you a link to him. Jeff Gray, how do you feel about Jeff?
I'd have to see.
Honor your oath.
Honor your oath. I've had to see his videos before.
I know you've seen his videos. He's the guy that holds up the signs, God bless the homeless vet.
Yes, I have. That guy's awesome. That guy's awesome. And how are you messing with a guy that just stands with a sign? I love that dude. I just his name escaped me, but yeah. Absolutely.
He's funny because they'll come up and go, there's no panhandling and according to our city ordinances. Oh, what happens if somebody panhandles? Well, we can arrest you. Okay, I'm asking you for $5. You got $5? So
that's it. I love his stuff too. I haven't chopped up any of his stuff yet. I want to do that because I've seen that. I've seen quite a few of his videos.
You catch any James Madison?
James Madison.
He's the former cop from Florida.
Has he got a catchphrase or anything?
James Madison audits. I'll have to send you that too.
Okay,
I think
check that. Send me him too.
Yeah, I'll send you him as well. Yeah. There again, I'll if you really want to chop up the one I showed you tonight for sure too. And
yeah, for sure, I'll send me that one. And there's just so many good ones out there, and I love the auditing community. They've become like so supportive, and they motivate me, and it's my family. That's why I go live, and I just want to. It's like I'm hanging out with family when I go live, man. I love all you guys, man.
I love watching your lives. Most of the time I'm walking to try and lose the rest of my weight, and that's when I'm chiming in when I'm watching you while I'm walking, which then of course it looks funny because I'm weaving all over the trail while I'm walking.
But let me show me. You got to show me the stream here so I can bring you on to the live. I know people get tired of looking at this ugly mug. We could talk about that offline. I'll show you how to use StreamYard. Yeah, I would love to do because I've been wanting to bring just people on so we can both go live at the same time.
Yeah, well, you can actually do that from your phone just on YouTube. Just StreamYard smooths it out a lot easier.
Okay, yeah, show me how to do that. We'll get on a call and show me how to do that.
You got any closing thoughts for there again? I appreciate everybody that came over to watch Matt. Thanks for coming to my channel, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We are trying to get TC to 3,000. That would give me 1% of Matt's following on YouTube.
Let's get it. We need 30.
And anybody who wants to learn how to use StreamYard, send me an email, Mbrrpodcast@yahoo.com, and I will be happy to walk you through that. And Matt, I'll work you through that. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please do share the video. Matt, give us some closing thoughts about what's important about some of what we talked about and what you think needs to happen going forward.
The importance of what we talked about is that this is so public now. If you go back 5, 6, 7, 8 years, this was not even talked about. This was not. This has so much steam. The talk about the shift and the change that we are able to make because we the people are a voice, and I am we the people. I'm one of them, like we keep saying. So keep doing what you're doing. Do it, and people are hearing this. We are making a lot of awareness, and with the right people, in the right ears, people that are way smarter than me, people that have a lot more say than me. Hopefully they can see this and make some real change. Because Lord knows we've seen enough of that line. That's what our goal is. It's my personal goal, and I know you agree with me, to remove that line. And I appreciate all you guys, and I just want to send peace and love, and just keep going, keep supporting each other.
Well, I got your back, bro, if there's ever, anything that you need, because
Likewise.
because we need to see more of you. I'd love to see your guys' department become the example, even if not everybody in the department is, willing to put their face. I love it when you catch the guys off guard. That, by the way, those some of the best videos.
Oh, I got a lot of footage
Especially the silver fox. Oh, by the way, black sock challenge.
Yeah, I'm failing a test right now.
Okay, so am I. Okay, yeah, Gravy, I'll put an email in the description of the video so you guys can find me there. I would love to see your guys' department, in the mentality that your department has about what you do, become the norm for law enforcement.
That'd be like a dream come true.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And I mean it. I got your back if within reason, as far as I don't have any money to send you if you get in legal trouble.
No, neither do I. Don't worry, Mama's got all that. Don't worry.
Mama's got that. Yeah, she wait till she gets the bill. But yeah, you've got a friend and a compatriot here, and I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out to to come down here and slum it with a small guy. And
anytime, let's make this more consistent, man.
I'd love to do.
I had a blast, man. Let's keep doing it.
I'd love to have you on again, and we will get you set up on figuring out how to use StreamYard. So,
okay, my brother.
You have a good night. I'll say goodbye after you get off, and you go get yourself set straight by Tennille. Tennille, thanks for sharing with me tonight.
Yes, dear. Okay. She's got football update news. She's saying Aaron Rodgers got hurt on the first play tonight. She's a Packer fan, so she's against Aaron Rodgers right now.
Who?
Yeah, I know. I don't even. He's from Minnesota, by the way. Don't start up with him.
I'm a Minnesota fan, so I just count on losing every year.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm a Chicago fan, so we know all about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, you guys have a great night. Thanks for doing this, Matt. We'll talk soon.
Love you, man.
Use any of those videos you want.
I get you. Send them direct to me, and we'll get them ready to go.
All right, man. Thank you.
Okay,
have a good night.
All right, you too.
Folks, Matt can give you hope. Do I think that the institution of policing has a corruption issue? Absolutely. But Matt can definitely give you hope. And I would really appreciate it if you guys would share this around, because I'd love to see more people hear what he has to say and talk about the things that he has to talk about. He is a phenomenal voice for reform and professionalism and accountability in the institution of policing in the criminal justice system. We need a lot more like him. And sadly, I just don't think there are as many out there as we would hope, because they do make an example of you and try to get rid of you as fast as they possibly can. Once again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you are a first-time watcher, thank you. If you're listening, come back, watch, hit the like button, the thumbs up. And definitely go over and check out Matt's content if you've never done that before. He's a voice that's the same as what you're used to hearing, but he's coming from a perspective on the inside still that makes it just that much more powerful. I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. Can't thank Matt enough for his time. And as my friend Monica, who made this with my tagline, fight for your liberty, it is yours. Fight for your freedom, it belongs to you. And until next time, sic semper tyrannis.
We are going for liftoff in T-minus 30. target. You are authorized to fire at